Hi everyone, I wanted to do a screencast over, this is the last study that I did, and the purpose of this study was to really see how quickly we could um, get human beings, and in this case trained men, to improve in their lean tissue mass or their muscle mass and strength. So how quickly could we do that? More specifically, what we did was we measured via the DEXA scanner their lean tissue mass or their muscle mass changes from week 0 to 2 and 2 to 4. So it was just a 4-week study. And this particular program was a total body strength training routine, and you can read the abstract. I'll go ahead and post the link also in the description of this video. And so I'm going to show you the intervention. So here's some information about the participants. I think it's important to note there were 22 men. Their training age, in other words, how many years they had been training. So that was years. The average training age, or how many years they had been strength training, was over 9 years. Okay, so the average. So some had more training and some had less. So the range is plus or minus 6 years. So at the minimum, right, they were 3 years of training. So I think by all classifications, these would be very advanced male trainees. Also, you could look and see their leg press strength, and this is in kilograms, was 264 kilos, so well over 500 pounds. This particular leg press that we used was very, very heavy as well. So very strong human beings, their leg press strength. And so again, all these lean mass numbers were done with the DEXA scanner before, and then at the midpoint after week 2, and then at the post. So let's go ahead. Training days per week prior to research. The average number of training days these participants were training at was 3.6 years, plus or minus a 1.29. In the range, the 95% confidence interval was at least 3 years, and some were much greater than that at 4 years. So certainly you can see they were all strength training going into this intervention. So more about the methods. Here's sort of the timeline, table 2 here in the paper. This gives you a timeline. Basically, at week 0, we did our testing. We did the flat chest press. It was in a Smith machine on a leg press for our strength assessment, and then we used the DEXA scanner. And all of those assessments took place at week 0, at the end of week 2, so after just 2 weeks of training, and then after week 4 as well. So you can see week 4, they completed the 4th week. Then on the Monday, they did their post-testing with the DEXA on that Monday, and then we gave them another day of rest to do their strength assessments, because many of these did not conclude their week 4 until the Saturday of this week 4. So that gave them an extra day or so to rest, but not really that much rest. Okay, more about the intervention, but I did want to talk to you about the resistance training program, because I think that's what everybody really wants to know, is how, when you look at these results, how in the world did these advanced trainees, very advanced trainees, how did they build this much muscle mass, right? And so if we can take very, very advanced trainees and increase their lean tissue mass and strength in less than 4 weeks' time, then we can certainly do that with people that are not trained, right? Because if you take someone that's not doing anything, they can immediately show changes. And so I wanted to go over this intervention and then sort of give you a context for this intervention, or this strength training program, I guess. So this was the program, 6 exercises, right? The same 6 exercises that I talk about all the time on my training on this channel. We had to, again, make the exercise program easy to follow. First of all, we had to make sure it included all the major muscle groups effectively, and it had to be, again, easy to complete. We wanted to make sure that this program could be completed for anyone in the world, right? Anyone. They didn't have to have a full gym or maybe a full Cybex line or, you know, thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but they could do this program anywhere. Okay, so this was the program. Basically, they did perform this routine 6 days a week. They could perform it in a circuit fashion from top to bottom, meaning they would start with the chest press, then move to a pull down or a pull up, and then to the next exercise, and each exercise top to bottom, and then they would go back to the top. So this was 45-second rest intervals, give or take, and I think this would be close to that 1 minute per set, one set completed in a minute, because if it takes the average set maybe 15 to 20 seconds to complete, it would be about a minute a set. I know I've talked about that various times on the channel, but I wanted to show you this routine. This is it, right? This is very similar to what I talk about here and elsewhere, and we promote slight variations of, but a chest press, a pull down or pull up, a tricep push down, a seated dumbbell curl. Again, you could do any curling exercise. This is just what we knew would be easy to follow because it just didn't need a lot of equipment to use. A walking lunge or a leg press. Also, you could probably do a stationary lunge. In this case, we did do walking lunges. Stationary lunges, guys, very little difference. It's the same muscles involved, maybe slightly a different motor recruitment pattern. But look, you're working your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your gluteus muscles, and your adductors if you're doing lunges. So we gave them a choice, and then a calf raise, a standing calf raise. Okay, there's the basic premise here is these participants followed these movement patterns, the same ones that I promote. They completed 5 cycles through this, or they did 5 sets of 6 to 12 repetitions per set. Okay, and in some cases, if we wanted them to follow in a circuit fashion, but if they needed to perform straight sets, you know, there were times where maybe that happened, I think, but for the most part, we did follow a circuit fashion here, as it's stated. So, but that was the program, right? 6 days per week, 5 sets of 6 to 12 repetitions per set. Okay, this program only took place 4 weeks. Okay, now I want to emphasize, I know I talk about strength training 2 to 3 days per week on my channel. The difference between what I recommend on the channel and what I'm discussing here is the fact the purpose of this study was to cause a very large effect quickly on these very advanced trainees because we wanted them to gain muscle mass as quickly as possible. But there is no way I would recommend this program for more than really 3 or 4 weeks. After the 4 weeks, many of them were fatigued, reaching overtraining, I would say. And we recommended after they completed the 4 weeks to go back to more of a traditional program, 2 to 3 days per week of strength training. Okay, you cannot follow this program more than 3 to 4 weeks at a time. Okay, again, 5 sets of 6 exercises, that's 30 sets of 6 to 12 repetitions, 6 days per week. All right, so these programs took them around 30 to 40 minutes to complete them. All right. Very powerful intervention, very powerful the results here. And again, if you do this program and try it, I want to tell you with certainty 3 to 4 weeks max. Okay, and the key is you're going to, the only reason I'm going over this study is because someone on my channel mentioned that they wanted to know about how to cause hypertrophy or muscle gains rapidly. If I had an elite athlete, if I had a movie star that I was working with and I had them in a limited off season, this is the program that I would place them on. It was slight variations probably for their individual differences if I was training them. But this base program would be a part of it. High frequency, high volume for 4 weeks, and then they would be off of it, onto something else. Okay? I cannot emphasize this enough. This is not something I would recommend to do more than 4 weeks. Okay? Let's look at the results. Amazing result. And keep in mind, there was no nutritional intervention here. If you read this study, I talk about that in the discussion section, that I wish we would have had funding and things to be able to give these participants and ensure they were consuming enough calories. Again, you do something like this, you're going to need tons of support nutritionally. We did not include that. We just encouraged them to make sure they were consuming adequate fuel and carbohydrates to meet their needs. Okay, but so their lean tissue mass, the only part of lean tissue mass that changes is muscle mass. So from pre to mid, they gained over, this is a mean value, over 1.27 kilograms. Okay, at least the mean number is 1.27 in just 2 weeks. All right, that's over 2 pounds of muscle mass. And again, this is in the DEXA in just 2 weeks, right? Amazing. And then so that was from pre to mid. From mid to post, very similar changes, about 1.14 kilograms. And the standard deviation is almost exactly the same. Here in parentheses, you do see the 95% confidence intervals. And then from pre to post, 2.41 kilogram change. Absolutely an amazing change in 4 weeks of strength training. Okay, that is 2.41. Let's do some quick math, and I'm not going to be able to convert it 100% accurately. Please don't hold me to this because I hadn't planned on doing it. I've got greater than 5 pounds of muscle mass was the average. Okay, someone out there, if you want to do the exact math on these numbers, converting to pounds, I'll let you do that. But 2.41 kilograms in these 22 very advanced participants doing this intervention. Okay, so we talk about strength changes, significant changes in strength, and that does reflect, of course, the changes in lean tissue mass. All right. Talk about volume. We did record all of their training volume, their changes in training volume from week to week, meaning how much total pounds they lifted. Volume would be, we calculated it on an absolute level, comparing it to their body mass would be absolute, and then their total, relative volume would be how many kilograms they lifted per kilogram of body mass, and absolute would be their total kilograms listed. So again, I think we could have done much better, even greater than we did, had we been able to maybe somehow control for food and nutrition, because I'm sure many of these participants absolutely did not consume enough calories to support this type of training. I'm going to conclude this. We went almost 15 minutes, but I do want to state this fact. And again, I got a question on the YouTube channel about maximum muscle hypertrophy. This is a suggestion that I would absolutely have for someone that wanted to build muscle mass rapidly, and it would be including that they would be consuming enough total calories. And by total calories, I probably mean in the range of 40 to 60 calories per kilogram of body mass. Someone weighs 220 pounds, that would be between 4,000 and 6,000 total calories to really optimize this program. And this program, again, I want to stress this enough. This is a 4-week one-time deal, or once every year or two, but certainly not something to do ongoingly, and not something to do even every quarter or so. I would not recommend doing that. This is a limited time thing. So that's it. I wanted to talk about this because I do know I have some people that are interested in maximum body composition and muscle hypertrophy changes. I want to go over this study. There's so many parts of it. If you have more questions, feel free to leave me comments, but also you can read the study, and I'll drop the link in the description.